Hey there. So we are moving towards our next video, which is regarding linking and transitive verb. Now, all of you know that in the previous videos, we started with our English grammar series with the first video of the subject and the predicate. We know the subject is the naming part and predicate is the telling part. Predicate further was divided into verb and an object. In the next video, we saw different types of objects like direct object, indirect object, and prepositional phrase or object or of preposition. Then we moved on the types of sentences, whether they are assertive sentences, affirmative, negative sentences, interrogative sentences, or they are exclamatory sentences, imperative sentences. Then we moved on to nouns and pronouns. We saw in the other previous videos that what are verbs. Now, today we are going to see a very short video on linking and transitive verb. Though I said that we are not going to discuss nouns, pronouns, verbs in detail. We'll be just focusing on 8 parts of speech. The whole description, or you can say the whole descriptive videos, we are going to do it later. These videos are just the parts of speech, but I had to put linking and transitive verb. The reason being that they are connected to making of sentences. So as we proceed towards adjectives, adverbs, you must be knowing what are linking verbs, transitive verbs. So it would be easy for you to understand the other parts of speech. So let's start. Now, you know that verb is something which displays an action. But what is a transitive verb? Transit means to transfer. A transitive verb is that verb, you can say, that takes an object. Transitive verb takes an object. Or you can say it verb transfers its action to an object. For example, she wrote a letter. Now, this action wrote, or you can say this verb, which is showcasing some action, this action is transferred to an object. That's why, since the transferring is happening, transition is happening. So, these verbs are called as transitive verbs. A transitive verb has an object that receives the action of the verb. So this is our object, right? Transitive verb has an object that receives the action of the verb. So you can see this direct object is receiving the action of this verb, which is wrote a letter. The transitive verb, you can say that it is a verb that requires a direct object. Transitive verb requires a direct object. So obviously she wrote a letter. Now the whole sentence revolves around she. So she is our subject. The naming part, it's our noun, or rather you can say it's our pronoun. She wrote. What action she is doing? She's writing, right? She wrote. So wrote is our verb. It's our transitive verb. Why it is our transitive verb? Because this action, this transfer is done to our object, and our direct object is letter. Hopefully, you understood what is the meaning of transitive verb. Let's see an example, one more example. He ate a sandwich. He, obviously, the sentence revolves person called he. Now, name is not given, but he is the pronoun. So the subject is he. Ate, right? It's about eating. So action is eating. Or you can say eating was done in past. So it's written as ate. He ate what? He ate a sandwich. So the action of this verb is transferred to the direct object. That's why ate is a transitive verb. There are two types of transitive verbs. Monotransitive verbs. Mono means just one. Ditransitive means there are going to be two. Mono means one, di means two. So in monotransitive sentences, just one object is going to be there. But in ditransitive sentences, there are going to be two objects, one direct object and the other one indirect object. Let's first proceed with monotransitive verb. A sentence with a verb that takes one object. Whenever we are talking about just one object and the transfer of action is passed on to just one object, then we can say it is monotransitive verb. So she eats an apple. So just one object is there, an apple. So the action of this verb eat is transferred to one's object, which is apple. He writes a little, right? Writes, action is writing. So he writes. So the action is transferred to our object letter. And there's one object. So we can intransitive sentence. Let's move to ditransitive sentences. Obviously, they're going to have direct object and indirect object. Two objects are going to be there. That's why two means die, right? So, ditransitive sentences. A sentence with a verb that takes two objects, direct and indirect. She gave him a book. She gave. Gave is a verb, right? She gave what? She gave book. So book is our direct object. And to whom did she give? She gave it to him. So him is our indirect object. He sent her a gift. He sent. Sent what? A gift. Gift to whom? To her. So sent is a verb. The gift is a direct object and her is our indirect object. We are going to practice this more ahead. So let's go. Ronaldo kicked the ball. Ronaldo is our subject because the whole statement is revolving around Ronaldo. So this is our subject. Ronaldo, what action did he do? He kicked. So this is our verb. And it's transferred to whom? The ball. The kicking was done to the ball. Or you can say the Ronaldo kicked at the ball. So the ball is our direct object. But if you see the other statement, Ronaldo gave Messi the ball, right? So Ronaldo is our subject. Gave is our verb. Action was giving. Gave what? Gave football. So football is our direct object. And gave football to whom? Gave it to Messi. So Messi is our indirect object. Now, how to rectify whether there's a direct object which is receiving the action of the verb or indirect object which is receiving from the direct object. So you can ask questions, and like I did in the previous statements as well, you can ask questions, and on basis of that you can rectify whether we are talking about direct objects or we are talking about indirect objects, whether we are talking about monotransitive sentences or ditransitive sentences, right? So the uh, crux is you should ask a question. Let's do it. Direct object receives the action of the verb directly. That's why it is called direct, right? It receives the action directly. That's why it is called as direct object. So when you do read out the statements, what answers the question, or what question you should ask? What or whom? These are the questions you should ask. Let's see. She ate what? Right? She ate what? Ate is our verb, and it shows that ate What? Direct object. Let's find out what's the direct object. She ate an apple. So apple is the direct object. She invited whom? Ask the question. She invited her friend. The direct object. So just by asking the questions whom and what, you can find out the direct object in a statement. Let's move further. So, moving further, let's find out how to ask questions to rectify indirect objects. Now, you all know indirect objects receives the direct object, or it shows to whom what the action is directed. So it is indirect object. Answer the question to whom or for whom. She gave a book to whom, right? She gave him a book, right? So you can see here, she is our subject, gave is our verb, gave what? Gave book. Sorry, gave what? Gave book. Gave book to whom? To him. So him is our indirect object. She made a cake for whom? She is our subject. Made is our verb, making. She made it in the past. So made a cake. She made a cake for her sister, right? So then indirect object. So it's easy to find out the direct objects, indirect objects very easily. Let's see what are intransitive verbs. Intransitive verbs, why in? Because it shows that something is missing. So here, we don't have object at all. They do not have object. For example, she laughed. She is a subject. Laughed is the verb, right? So the action of the subject is not transferred to any object. Then they just tell us how, when, or where, but there is no object in the sentence. So such verbs are called as intransitive verb. You can say laughed is an intransitive verb because the action is not transferred to any object here. So you can say that verb laughed is a intransitive verb. Now actually the prepositional phrase is there. She laughed at home. So we have seen at is the preposition and at home is the prepositional phrase. We have seen it in our previous videos, right? So the prepositional phrase at home provides additional information about the location. She laughed where? The location. She laughed at home. Where the action of the verb cried, laughed, whatever you say, took place. It modifies the verb cried, laughed, and provides the context to the sentence, right? So you can say that intransitive verbs that do not transfer the action to any object. He woke up. He is the subject. Woke up is the verb. Woke up is an intransitive verb. But if I say woke up before the dinner, then before the dinner is the object of preposition. Before is the preposition. Before the dinner is the object of preposition. And, or you can say that it is a prepositional phrase. Our house burned down by the river. So, house is the subject, burned down is the intransitive verb. Now, what are linking verbs? Linking verbs use a verb that link two parts of the sentences. It joins the sentences. It links the sentences. These two parts of sentence are a noun or an adjective called subject complement. It could be either a noun or it could be a subject complement. A linking verb is a type of verb that connects the subject. It connects the subject to additional information such as an adjective, a noun, or a pronoun. So let's find out. She is our subject. She is happy. She is our subject. And happy is our subject complement. What is happy? It's an adjective. What is an adjective? Adjective describes the quality of a noun. It describes the noun. That's why we call it as adjective. So she is happy, right? So happy is the subject complement. So is our linking verb over here because it is joined our subject with the subject complement. That's why we are calling it as a linking verb. He became a doctor. So he is our subject. Doctor is the subject complement. Actually, doctor is our noun over here. So we know that, and it's mentioned over here as well, that a linking verb is the one which connects the subject to additional information such as adjective, noun, or pronoun. So doctor is our noun. He is our subject and became is our verb. So it's linking between the subject and the subject complement. That's why these are called as linking verbs. They seem tired. Tired is adjective. It is showcasing some quality, right? So they is our subject. We don't know, we don't have the name of the people. One, two, three. We don't know whom they are. They is a pronoun, right? Seem. Seem is the verb. So it is linking the subject with the subject complement. That's why the verb seem is our linking verb. It appears to be true. It is our subject. Since the whole sentence revolves around it, appears to be true. Appears is the verb which is linking subject it with the subject complement true. So appears is our linking verb. Fine. Thank you for watching the video. I hope you understood linking verbs and transitive verbs.